Very big thank you to you for staying tuned to Sud 107.1 FM, the nation's first entrepreneurship and leadership radio station. 11:05 from our studios right here is located in the city of Abeokuta. We're ready to do Office of the Citizens for today, Tuesday, the 18th day in the month of August. Thank you very much for staying tuned. I am Daniel Ademijudo, and we'll be doing this program today as usual with two guests in the house. We'll be talking about something very important. Like I say always, the topic that we have for discussion is always something that we can, irrespective of our class as a citizen, relate to. And this program is brought to you from Sweet FM with support from BugdIT and Enough is Enough initiative. Also, let me let you know that you can link up with these organizations on social media at EIA Nigeria on Twitter, EIA Nigeria to follow Enough is Enough initiative, and at BugdIT NG on Twitter to follow BugdIT, and you spell BugdIT as BUDGITNG, and also Women Advocate at Women Advocate on Twitter, and then our own handle right here from this station is at Sweet 107.1 FM. Alright, I am Daniel Ademijudo, like I said earlier on, and the guest for today, Yemi, Ajala, Public Affairs Analyst, and Faloye, Ayobamigbe, is with Youthquake NG, and today we're talking about the Ogun State 2020 revised budget. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, let's get into business quickly. Ogun State 2020 revised budget. First off, let's talk about the budget in its entirety, in its totality. How much is Ogun State's budget for 2020?
Okay, I think now we must be specific because we used to have the original budget and the newly reduced budget due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think let's be specific with the newly reduced budget, which we have the total of about 280 billion naira budgeted. That's like a reduction from the 449.97 billion of the initial budget of 2020. So I think they said they did about 38% reduction from that initial one.
All right, now we have a reduced budget from the ones, the one the government made earlier on. But Yemi Ajala, right? Let's talk about the impact of COVID-19 and how it will adversely affect the plans of the government, or how it has affected some of it already. A reduction in the budget shows that yes, we've been impacted by the COVID-19.
Yes.
How far will this go with the plans of the state government? And do you think a reduction is what we really need after the COVID-19, or we should have? Because many would say that, of course, during the pandemic, we have fight in the pandemic, and of course, the health sector would need a whole lot of budget, and that should have increased and not decreased the budget.
Yes, the challenge really is this, that across the world, and it is not just Ogun State alone, it's not just Nigeria alone, every single economy has been affected by this pandemic, especially on the revenue front. Okay, for Nigeria, for instance, we are largely for government revenue, we are largely monocultural. That means we get most of our money from selling crude oil, and so for the Ogun State government, the challenge of this budget is basically revenue, and it is threefold. One is the fact that the expected money from the coffers of the federal government, from the Federal Allocation Committee, is going to be drastically reduced because Nigeria has not been able to sell its oil since the start of this pandemic. India, which buys most of our oil, is, I think, the third worst hit nation in the world, and they had to shut down their economy because over 500,000 people in India has COVID-19. And so we are not selling oil, so that means money from Abuja is not entering Ogun State very well. Ogun State had to lock down, and in as much as Ogun State has one of, I think, the third highest IGR in the nation after Lagos State and Rivers State, that has been grossly affected because a bulk of our IGR is payee. But if people don't go to work, they don't get salary. I mean, private school teachers, people working in private companies couldn't go to work. They couldn't work for months on end. So there was no revenue coming in on that front. When we talk about IGR, it also goes into all these tickets that in garages, all these tickets for Okada riders and all that, market women, they pay all these taxes and then it gets into the government coffers. Markets were shut for months. People were not going around for months. You understand? And so the expected money from IGR also dropped. And then on the third front is the fact that the Ogun State government wanted to access loan, especially for infrastructural development. But even all multinational agencies that normally give out low interest loans for infrastructure development, all of them has been affected by this pandemic, and so they are not ready to dole out money anymore. And so on those three fronts, the Ogun State government does not have enough revenue to fund the previous budget of 449 billion. And thus, it's not a question of whether Ogun State wants to reduce the budget. It is that because of the COVID-19 pandemic and its effect, Ogun State is forced to reduce its budget.
Interesting. So now, let's talk about the expenditure and how the budget is being spread across all sectors. First off, many would argue that health is wealth, and it is not a problem if the government, jettisons other sectors and focus on health, and then when we recover, we can now focus on others. What's your take on this? Where do you think the government should really focus on with this reduced budget?
Actually, when you have a pandemic of this magnitude, as I said earlier, the benchmark of running a government is how much of revenue and how much you can reduce your expenditures. That's how you can really maximize what you have as in resources for the meantime. So Ogun State's budget, they say it's reduced, but have some couple of question marks when it comes to it being reduced. Are we really reducing one of the choppers of money? That's the recurrent expenditure. If you look at the budget of 2019, the recurrent expenditure of the government of that budgeted for that time was about 226 billion. Before the reduced budget for this year, 2020, we already had, just within a year, we were having a recurrent expenditure of 152 billion. You can see that. So now it's reduced from 152 to 132 billion in the current budget. That doesn't look serious to me. Like I don't see some seriousness from the side of the government, because recurrent expenditure, is a bane of you having resources for other vital sectors like health, infrastructure, and education, as you have mentioned earlier. So in this case, I don't think we are doing much, and I don't think you should expect anything outstanding when it comes to those sectors that you have mentioned earlier. Although the budget is reduced, but I don't see much of impact if your recurrent expenditure has risen that much within a spite of few months. So.
Well, you made mention of the fact that one of the ways to which the budget is being funded is the internally generated revenue, and with the lockdown that dropped drastically. But really, how can the government, with the resumption of full economic activities, of course, the federal government stated recently that international flights would resume, and of course that's about the only remaining things economically that we have been waiting for its resumption. But looking at that, I don't think that with the resumption of economic activities, IGR should also be boosted or would be boosted, and how do you think that the state government can maximize the potentiality of generating more post lockdown?
Yeah. One is one thing we must admit is that many businesses that were alive pre the COVID-19 pandemic are dead. They are not coming back because of the effect of the lockdown. And it's just not in Nigeria, it's everywhere in the world. Okay? And that necessarily means that there is going to be a slowdown in the expected economic activity. Because the economy is not a light switch. You can't just flick it on and flick it down. You understand? It's more like a nuclear reactor. I'm sorry, I'm a trained physicist. So it takes about 2 weeks for you to start a nuclear reactor. You warm it gradually, and it's the same thing for oil rigs and all that. You warm it gradually. You don't just switch it on. And that is the same thing for the economy. So for the economy to go back to the level that it was ab initio before the lockdown, it will take months, if not years. Some World Bank economists are even saying that it will take years for the world to recover economically from the effects of the pandemic. And so there is no way the Ogun State government would get the same level of IGR that they were expecting pre-COVID-19. The question really is, what is the government going to do to ensure that we get back to that level of economic activity at a faster rate and even surpass that? From this budget, this revised budget, part of the challenge is that we don't have the full breakdown of this budget. We only have the highlights, basically. And they said that they are going to spend 148 billion on capital projects, reduced from 271 billion from pre-COVID-19 expectations, which is about 110, 120 billion reduction. That is going to affect the IGR, because see all these contracts that they are going to award for the finishing of certain roads. I mean, we have that hospital at Okemoson that is still hanging. We have the Lafenwa Rounder Road that is still comatose. We have the Ode Yewa Idiroko Ilaro Road.
But the state government is still,
the point is, those projects would have had money to be finished, and all this thing goes down into the economy. For instance, the people that are going to work on that road, they are going to need people that is going to provide them food. That person is going to pay tax to the local government. That person is going to pay money to the transporter who will pay tickets. You understand what I'm saying? All these things goes in there. But now that everything is going to be reduced, of course, so if the contractors were supposed to work on the site for, let's say, 18 months and finish the project, but because they've reduced the money that they have given them, they work only maybe 12 months and then pack their load. So it's going to definitely affect. The model that a lot of economists use in terms of getting out of economic lodge when you have an economic law is government spending. That the government should spend, and when the people have enough money in their hand, they will simulate speed in the economy, thereby getting the economy out of the road. Just like when you are driving a car and the car gets into a deep mud. Government spending is the sand that you pour down on the wheel. But unfortunately, the government cannot spend because the government has no money. So what the Ogun State government is doing right now is cutting its coats according to its size. The question is, if you are doing that, you have to be very creative with it. You have to identify the key aspects, the key areas where you are going to target to ensure that you get the biggest bang for the buck. You get the highest traction for your money so that people will, start spending and then lift the economy, and that would increase the IGR. But we don't have the full details yet. What we have, of course, is, like I said, the recurrent expenditure, which should go down. Although the government may say that because they are doing direct labor, that is what has led to it. But we don't see it. We don't see it yet.
Now let's talk about we've analyzed the IGR aspect, and let's talk about the loans. I mean, is it advisable? Is it healthy for the Ogun State government? And of course, we may look at it at the federal level as well. Looking at the number of loans that we've got in the past 12 months, is it still advisable to go for loans in order to, get the budget in balance and work on the things that the government needs to.
As my scholarly colleague said earlier, because he's a tech guy, but he has so much knowledge about the economy. You know, if you're borrowing loans to do certain things that will yield, that will pour sand, you know, in a stock car, in the wheels of a stock car, well, one might say is a beautiful one. But if you're collecting loans to probably increase your personnel cost, overhead costs, then you may be deceiving yourself, because that's not going to yield any success for your loan repayment. And checking the profile of Ogun State, if you are so conversant with recent happenings, you know, Ogun State has not been buoyant enough when it comes to revenue against expenditure in recent times, because of, you know, accrued debt. So again, loan at this point in time, I would like us to actually look inside and be more meticulous with our ways. As I said, when you direct your reduction in what's the name, expenditure, especially the recurrent, I think that's a huge leap. You know, let's have public officials, you know, cutting their coats according to their sizes and leading by example, because that's where the bulk of, imagine, recurrent expenditure is so huge. Capital project is, for this new reduced budget, the capital allocated funds, or you know, appropriated fund, is 148 billion. That's about and recurrent is expected to be 132 billion. It doesn't, looking at these figures, it doesn't seem that you are in a panic mode as an economic manager. It's not showing that, because you're spending as much as you want to spend on capital projects. So these are the things I think that we really need to look at, not loans at this point in time, especially the fact that Nigeria itself is already getting saturated, you know, collecting loans here and there. I don't know how much, just like we don't have the details of the budget, it's almost very hard for you to get the details of the loan. I thought the assembly approved a loan recently. We don't know how far that has gone. About
okay, let me just say this, that I disagree with you a bit.
Okay.
And this is where I disagree with you a bit. Yeah. The truth of the matter is, the hands of the government is tied in many ways when it comes to the recurrent expenditure. Because, I mean, we all previewed, we know what happened in the twilight of the last administration, when it employed a lot of people into the state's civil service, that it had pending for like 3-4 years. Then there was no recruitment for years, and then suddenly, as the administration was winding down, they decided to call all the people that they had interviewed over the years to come and resume, like 3 months to the end of the administration, and they did not pay them a single dime until they left. Okay. And this government now inherited them. It becomes a political sword of Damocles on your head if the first thing you do as a governor elected is to sack people. You cannot leave it down. And so the governor, about a year ago, had to absorb these people fully, and that increased our wage bill. Now the question now is this: you are the executive governor, you have 4 years. How do you reduce the state's recurrent expenditure without sacking people? It's very hard. One of the best things you can do, especially because of political exigency, is to find a way to keep it minimal, at the same time increase your capital expenditure, which I think this government is trying to do. At least we are not paying up to 50% of our budget on recurrent expenditure. The question is, can we go ahead and reduce it? The government may have already had a plan to reduce that this year. You understand? But do you sack people during the pandemic? We know what is going to happen. Well, there will be uproar on social media, on various media. I mean, look at what happened recently when the government said that for students to go back to hostels and then write examinations, everybody needs a COVID-19 test. Private schools should pay for the, I mean, it's private, you should pay. But everybody rose against it. There was protest everywhere, and the government had to absorb that cost. That goes into recurrent. It's not a capital expenditure. It's not building a new ward at General Hospital, Ilaro. It's not building it's not finishing the necessary roads at Lambe, Akute, and all those other areas. It's not finishing those roads. You understand? So that is the challenge. You know, my own major issue with this revised budget is we don't know how much is going to be invested in the human capital. Because we are Ogun State. We are not just any other state. We are the gateway state. We are the state that produced the likes of Wole Soyinka and Obafemi Awolowo. Yet, if you look at the past 8 years, WAEC, how good are our students performing? So we need to invest more in human capital. We are not a state of roads and all that. We are a state of Ogun people.
So if I go with your words, where you have so much sympathy for the managers of the economy in the states, and because now that's where I was driving at. Now, if your total budget is 280 billion naira, out of 280 billion naira, we have allocated 148 billion for capital project. That's having left about roughly 130 or thereabout, 132 or thereabout. Now, your recurrent, in the sense here, is on. Although we don't have the breakdown for it, but what I want to believe is that in this capital project, we already know that infrastructural development, which is completion of major roads and projects, will carry a bulk of that 148, billion.
How much is left for education?
How much is left for health?
How much is left for health?
How much is left for recovery, human palliative measures?
Yes.
Because I'm not even saying that the government has any plans for, motivating people back to their psychological best. Is what the interventions we have been seeing are from the federal. So these are the things that we should be our own problem. Calling these people to take the front row. Take the front row. We have not seen anybody say, "Okay, I'm sacrificing my social salary for
Our political leaders have not said anything about.
You don't understand.
Just imagine if the whole state legislature come out and say, we are only going to take 30% of our allowances.
Nobody is doing that. So that's why I said, on paper, with everything we have now, Ogun State doesn't seem to be serious about bringing people back to their maximum best in this pandemic.
Yes, but see, I'm not defending the government. Neither do I have any sympathy for them. They were the ones that came and campaigned and said they wanted to do the work, so let them do the work. part of being in government is that people will drag you.
Yes.
You understand? So, but my point is that, in as much as we are dragging the government, we must also drag them in a way that is constructive. For instance, since July 1, resident doctors in OUTH have been on strike. They want more money. The ones that are handling the COVID-19 patients have joined them in mid-July. They want more money. Everybody wants more money. As the governor, if you go and build new wards in hospitals, you buy the best equipment for them, you finish the hospital at Okemoson, you launch it, big hospital and everything, and there are nobody to work inside, what happens? That's the question.
Interesting discussions between my guests this morning as we look into the 2020 revised budget. That's talking about the Ogun State's revised budget for the year. And I've been talking to the duo of Yemi Ajala, public affairs analyst, and Faloye Ayobamigbe, who is a Youth Quake NG member. And this is Office of the Citizens right here on Street 107.1 FM. Let me let you know that you can join in on the conversation. The phone lines to call or send in messages to is 0817-920-1071. 0817-920-1071. That's the WhatsApp line. You can drop your messages there. We read them out, and of course you can call that number And once we throw the phone lines open, you can also write this down. The alternative lines 01-440-1071, 01-440-1071, or 01-440-1072. You can also call 009-596-1071, 009-596-1071. We'll go on the break right now. When we come back from the break, we'll continue with the discussions and we'll try and reach something on the topic. I am Daniel and Demijuidu. I'll be back after this break to continue on Office of the Citizens. Remember that you can follow us on social media at Sweet 107.1 FM.
Sweet 107.1 FM. What a sweet experience.
Alright, thank you very much for staying tuned to Sweet 107.1 FM Office of the Citizens, still going on this dial. And I have been talking to two gentlemen who have somehow made the discussion interesting, and I'm very sure that you at home would also have enjoyed some of the analysis. Yemi Ajala is a public affairs analyst. He's with me on the show, as well as Faloye Ayobamigbe, member of Youthquake NG. And let me let you know that you can follow us on social media as well as our partners on this show. That's Enough is Enough Nigeria at EIE Nigeria on Twitter, and Budget at Budget NG, that's BUDGITNG, and also at Women Advocate on Twitter. For Sweet FM, you can follow us across all media platforms with at Sweet 107.1 FM. The phone lines to call to join in on the discussion is 009-596-1071, 009-596-1071, or 0817-920-1071, 0817-920-1071, or call 01440-1071, 01440-1071, or 01440-1072, 01440-1072. Do not forget the WhatsApp platform, that's 0817-920-1071. Alright, let's get back to the discussion. And we're talking about loans, whether it is healthy for the government to try and access or get more loans from sources where they can. But I'm bothered that even if we go for loans, is it feasible that they would be paid as at when due?
Well, like I said earlier on, Ogun State has the third highest IGR in the nation, and I think, this is my own belief, that Ogun State has the potential and the capacity to be the highest IGR in the nation. I mean, California, for instance, is the 7th largest economy in the world. That's just one state in America. Now, California's economy is driven basically by Silicon Valley, Hollywood. So these are not manufacturing. These are things that come from human capital development, which is why it seems that I hammer more on human capital development, because frankly, the last administration did not care about human capital development. All they wanted to do was build bridges and build roads. But this administration came in and said that they are going to invest more in human capital development, and they tried. At least in the last 1 year, they've upgraded many schools, and all that. But they need to do more, and they should do more, because that's the only way I see us going out of this pandemic. There's only so much manufacturing that you can do. But we are Ogun State, we are people that have so much intellectual capacity and sagacity that we should be leading on soft knowledge across the world. Yes, for instance, one of my own pet peeve, one of the few things that I have against this administration is that they've not been able to galvanize and fully utilize one of the most wasteful projects this state has ever seen. And I'm talking about the model schools that were built by the last administration. Each of them costing well over 1 billion. Most of them are rusting away. This government tried. One of them has been redesigned and remodeled to provide ICT knowledge, but we are not seeing as much as we need on that front. Also, the other model schools, what is being done to them? Personally, because of this pandemic, personally, if they ask me personally, I would say that they should sell some of them to anybody that wants to buy. They want to run model school, they want to change, they should sell most of them, because they were cited way out of
if the government can't.
So if they sorry,
Okay.
let me just finish my train of thought.
Okay.
So if they sell all those wasteful assets, yes, we can pay back those loans. If we invest more in human capital development, because I mean a huge chunk of our IGR is payee, then those people that we invested in, and then they have enough skill that they can produce wealth, then we can tax them and pay back these loans, of course. So because we took the loans to provide them, good water supply, good roads, and definitely they'll be happy to pay. But how do you provide good road for someone and the person is earning 20,000 naira? How much do you want to tax that person? You understand? But if the person is earning upward of 400, 500,000, and you come with a tax bill of 50 something thousand, of course the person will gladly pay. So the part to paying back our loans still lies in human capital development.
Well, I need to ask a question. You said that if the government want to sell, it can sell to individuals who may be interested. But my question is, even if individuals are interested, whatever reason or reasons that has made the government to fail to utilize those buildings for whatever reason, don't you think that same reason would disrupt or discourage organizations from buying those buildings?
No, I don't think so. And the reason I said so is that it's not just for educational purpose. For instance, even like I said, I'm not saying the government should sell even everything. Some should be repurposed, but they can sell it. So, for instance, for software companies. Why don't we have a pragmatic framework for attracting software companies? So, for instance, if the government can ensure that there will be electricity supply, and then they partner with one of these telcos to ensure there will be fast internet in those places, of course, tech companies will come. You understand? And it's not just tech companies, because most of these schools were sited on very large expanse of land outside of the towns and cities where they are located. There's a lot of space for people to even bring up manufacturing if they want to manufacture on those lands. And then they will just use the main building for administrative purpose or for housing purposes. I mean, we can be the leading state or even the leading location in Africa for renewable energy if we say, okay, if you want to manufacture solar panels, come, we'll give you this land. This is already a building on the ground. We'll give you maybe a tax holiday of maybe 2-3 years. You understand? And then we will attract those things, and that will create jobs and create taxable citizens, not just citizens that will be saying, Baba, we need palliative, Baba, Raka Dede, Baba, we need money.
You have actually said, you have said some important facts about this current government and probably prior governments in this state. You know, there's this space of directionlessness, you know, when it comes to the leadership, when it comes to galvanizing the people towards a direction. You know, it's bigger than just saying I'm going to provide healthcare. You know, I'm going to improve education. No, these things are quite multifaceted when it comes to trying to solve those problems. As I said earlier, when it comes to human capital, if we are in a state where your human capital is actually very important to you, at this point in time, I should be seeing in the new budget a specific allocation for for stimulating the people back to their normal self. As I said earlier, you don't just wake up, because now the plan is that because Ogun State really enjoys more of taxing. They enjoy from taxing a lot. So now, are we saying that this reduced budget now, because I'm sure taxes, because only what we expect from the federal allocation, at least what we got last year from federal allocation was the total plus the VAT and the statutory allocation. We got about 60 billion from the federal government. So are we saying that this year we're going to get
way less?
So you understand? So now that means where else is Ogun State looking at? they probably will be looking at probably loans. Do we want to do loans? The loans that we have just we've reduced. I think the last budget we had about external loan of about 59 billion, which is now reduced in their recent budget to 14 billion. I think that's cool. Now, internal loan of last year's budget, which was about 12 billion, is now risen to 75 billion. So these projections of going to loans, going to taxes, taxing people that are just coming out from a pandemic, that have just lost their jobs, private school teachers that the schools have closed up,
entertainment, people working in the entertainment
small businesses that have folded up. You know, you want to come back and begin to tax them. You know, is that sensible? So these are the things that we're talking about. The only way out, you know, is for people in political office to lead by example. You understand? Lead by example. Just imagine if we have a situation where the governor himself reduces his salary. The House of Assembly members, as Yemi said earlier, they reduce their salary. Do you think doctors will be bold enough to say, okay, we're going to strike? And you know, that's when you talk. That's when you are talking. You are collecting your largesse. You are expecting me to manage and risk my life. You know, working in a pandemic confined area.
Of course, you don't have you lose the moral authority.
So you understand? I see you in your jeep and everything, and I'm there, hoping that maybe this night I may see my children again, or I may not see them again. So you're expecting not to. There should be some guarantee to a large extent, you know, for people to take sacrifices. You know, just like what happened recently in football, where a top player in Arsenal was asked to reduce his distance. He said, "Come on," he said, "Come and convince me and show me what you want to use my reduced salary." What will you?
And I'm prepared to even reduce more than what you ask me.
What you ask me for? But if you cannot account for what you want to do, then I'm not reducing it. So that's the case with what we have with workers in Ogun State now. You know, you want me to sympathize with you and, you know, endure you know, the hazard in isolation centers. But whereas I'm seeing you gallivanting around, you know, enjoying your.
Let me just say this. That to the point that you find that a lot of people in the political class have had COVID-19. Many of them have not announced it, but we hear, you know, all this. And it's because they are the ones that have been gallivanting even during lockdown, because they feel that they are above the law.
But you cannot ascertain that is totally true, because you know, there have been the use of online media.
Yes. No, I'm not saying all of them, but
platforms to have meetings.
Yes, I agree.
Of course, from time to time we do see, according to so and so, during a webinar, during a Zoom meeting. That is what. See, but I don't think
one of the things that I want to praise the Ogun State governor in particular for is that he has shown personally, you know, how to run a government social distancing or physical distancing, you know, because in as much as we don't see the governor up and down, but we feel the government, we see the government representative. So, for instance, they may send, instead of the governor being in Itele Ota, he will just probably send his deputy, who is an Ota indigene, and represent. Yes, I understand. I'm not just talking about this government. I'm saying the whole political class across Nigeria. Thankfully, I don't think we've lost any, aside from the late Senator Kashamu, I don't think we've lost any political bigwig in Ogun State, unlike in some other states. You understand? So, of course, like that's what I'm saying. That, okay, for instance, in the revised budget and last year's budget, how much was spent on sports? How much has been allocated for sports right now? Because you see, the thing is this. People have been psychologically damaged by this pandemic, even if they didn't have COVID-19 themselves. Youths, which make up, I mean, the recent statistics shows that over 70% of Nigeria's population is below 35. Where do they dissipate all this pent-up energy and emotion? And the thing is, sports have a lot of ramification in terms of spurring the economy.
The direction you are going right now would make me ask the question I've been holding back, which is, with the view to big profit, like even with the reduced budget, where do you think that the government should face with the budget? I mean, where should the large chunk of the budget, revised budget, go in order to maximize profits? There are so many ways. He has mentioned sports. Of course, we have tourism and tourist centers, or places where we can.
If you see that direction, it's still buttressing the fact that what we need to develop now is human capacity. It's only when people are mentally upright that's when they can make your economy go from a 74 billion naira revenue generating to 150. It's the activity of the members of the state, that makes the revenue come. As I said earlier, it's more of, I earn this, I pay this to government. That's what we run here.
But then, if the government is to invest in human capacity, we know the government is a little bit handicapped with the funds on ground. The state needs to make money, and having looked at the situation, it is best not to wait on taxes. Like that's the baseline of some of the analysis you've made. We shouldn't wait for the taxes. Then maybe we can look at something that wouldn't hurt the people's income, but still bring something in. Tourism is one of them.
Yes, I agree with you.
It's one of them. So that's why I'm saying, other than health, other than education, there are some other money-making or revenue-generating avenues that we can face. Which one do you think has the biggest prospect of doubling the IGR?
So let me just say this. We know. I mean, you just mentioned some sectors of the economy that are low-hanging fruits that can be helped. But the question I want to ask you,
they receive the lowest.
Attention.
Allocation and attention.
So I want to ask you a question. Have you seen a concerted, vision-driven effort by any of our past administration and even this administration in galvanizing Ogun State tourism, for instance?
Yeah.
You have to create something that you have to lead, and that is where, see, when people venerate Obafemi Awolowo, a lot of people do not understand. When Obafemi Awolowo became the premier in 1951, he said, I'm going to do free education. And these are the reasons why we are going to do this. People told him he can't find money. He said, look, don't worry, I'll find the money. And he started it in 1954. It took him 3 years. But at every single point, he went to towns to justify why. He led the people to a place where they would not necessarily have gone to without his leadership. That's his vision. You understand?
Yes.
This government has identified human capital development, and they are doing a lot.
On paper.
They're actually doing a lot. I've seen some, but they need to do more. They need to seriously do more. They need to do like 3 times what they are doing right now for us to see those things. For instance, if a visitor comes to Abeokuta for the weekend on a Saturday, they'll visit probably 2 or 3 places. Why? Where are the museums? Because there's a lot of families in Ogun State that have people that have been iconic in Nigeria's history. Why is there no Wole Soyinka museum? Fine, the last administration did the Kuti museum. Fine, but those are not the only person. Dr. Majekodumi, Baba Ernest Shonekon. Where are the museums that you can take people to? There are a lot of prominent people, prominent families that have gone.
Yeah.
Let me just one of the longest running brand in Africa since 1918, over 100 years. The house of the person that built that brand, I won't mention because that would be free advert, is in Chapon, but it was demolished for road expansion by the last administration. That is a house that should have been held up as a monument for people to come and visit. So because you want people to come on a Saturday morning, for instance, and still have a reason to wait till the next day, so that they can go to the hotels and sleep over and bring money into the economy.
You see, as you said earlier, you're only thinking like a 2020 leader. The problem we have is the disclaimer, is the non-acceptance of the fact that the way we used to do things have changed.
It has to change.
And it has to change because not even about pandemic, because life itself is dynamic.
Yes.
So you're using, imagine at this age, Ogun State of all states, not having so much to do with tourism. How much have we done to tourism? And we know how hectic, Lagos life is. That industries are now beginning to move to Ogun State. We are now having more people moving to Ogun State, and tourism is not paying the money. I see a little more. I see a little effort of young people online trying to galvanize
a lot of people to come
to visit Ogun State. Ideally, I won't be surprised if the state government is thinking in the direction of Lagos. one day you will just see that they are taxing those children again, and they will tax them out of their ideas and out of their businesses. So the approach as at now is that we should subtly, approach taxation, because people are just coming out of a pandemic. They are psychologically, troubled.
Yes.
In fact, economically.
Good to anybody.
So you understand. So the only approach now, for me, and loan is not even advisable, because we don't know what the future, tells.
Yes.
We don't know. This pandemic is still unveiling what it is. Or what
it's still not over.
It's still not over. It's a marathon.
That's why we are all on mask in this studio.
So I think the best approach for this government is to lead by example. Let everybody cut their coat according to their sizes.
Okay,
let's begin to see it happen from top down. Cut your salaries and allocation and expenditures, so that we can use it to do something more tangible to the people, for the people.
So let me just make this point to buttress what he just said. Imagine the governor coming out and saying, across the board, all political appointees are going to slash their salary by 60%. And then he now says, till this pandemic is over, I want to say state workers, we are slashing your salary by 20%. The state workers would accept. And that will give us more money that we can invest in these sectors that can spur the economy.
Finally, let's talk about what the the Ogun State House of Assembly has in duty to do to ensure that at least, like you said, we cut our coat according to the clothes that we have. Looking at, do you think that the House of Assembly needs to critically assess and make analysis on the previous budget, comparing with what we have on ground before passing a certain amount?
You see, the challenge that this COVID-19 pandemic has given us is that life is not yet back to normal. For instance, I don't think that the state assembly will probably have to do an abridged public hearing on this revised budget.
Is it the one that?
No, this revised budget.
They've already passed it.
Yes, they've already passed it. But what was the public reading? And even if there was public reading, it will be social distanced. It will be reduced. A lot of people will not be able to attend, even if it is online. How many people have access, to the internet? And that is the challenge. The legislature cannot carry out its full duty until this pandemic is over.
Okay, quickly, last question for either of you would attempt to answer it. You made mention of the fact that the budget and the process that which it goes does not get publicized. What do you think the government should do in ensuring that the citizens are carried along for them to be informed about what the state is planning as per budget, and how they can also play their part?
My brother, let me just ask you one question in answer to your question. Who is the Ogun State's Information Commissioner?
Let me leave that for you to answer. I pass.
Off your mic. Off your mic.
But really,
but of course, you have highlighted what the lacuna is. The communication and carrying along of the masses, of the people of the state, is really not the one that you can be proud of. We need to know more. Although I think this government has been a bit more open than the previous one.
Yes, but the challenge, of course, is the lack of organization of the information hierarchy. And
so
structure.
we expect that people have access in local dialects to the budget, because let me tell you, no matter how anybody wants to continue to play their politics, people that have refused to change, the truth is that going forward, it will be more of performance based for people to come and lead us. If you are late to change your approach, you'll be caught unawares. But that's the truth. That's the truth. We are going to be working on how you have performed, what you budgeted, how much of outcome we can evaluate from what you have done so far. That's the way forward to choose people that will lead us. And I employ them to make all of this information that will be used in evaluating them available to the masses.
All right, thank you very much for being a part of the program this morning. Office of the Citizens, right here on Sweet 107.1 FM, the nation's first entrepreneurship and leadership radio station. A very big thank you to Yemi Ajala.
Thank you.
Yeah, patent shots quickly.
Oh well, yes. Let the government please focus on human capital development. We have 75% of our population as youths, as below 35 years, and these people are not joking. this Generation Z, or what do they call them now?
Yeah.
Those guys are not joking. Those guys are not joking. Any government, do not forget that people from 18 can vote, and they know, and they are online. They would punish you at the polls. You have to do the right thing.
All right, thank you very much.